close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Now it says that we need OpenCore package. So let's download it first. Download the OpenCore debug version. See here it says to download the debug version, so download that what it says. Follow the guide strictly. I'll create a folder named OpenCore and download all the required files here. Alright, a gentle riddance. Now we need proper tree to edit the .plist files. Click on code and select download as zip. Alright, with that done, let's head over. Okay. It says we need a cleaned VRAM and have to wipe out Clover completely or else it will cause problems. So, those who downloaded Clover before, you'll need to clean the VRAM. But those who never built a Hackintosh, just like me, it's alright. Nothing to panic. Now head over and since we are making the installer media on Windows, we'll select that. If you're running a different OS, select that. Follow the guide strictly and have patience. The guide will change upon time. So, follow the guide and not my video. Okay, so now read the requirements. We need a USB drive which is at least 4 GB if you are creating a recovery installer like we're doing so. If you're making a full-size installer, then you need at least 8 GB pen drive. After that we also need GB macOS. Select code and download as zip. Okay. So now open the folder where GB macOS got downloaded and now we need to extract it. Now what does the guide say? Right-click on the GB macOS.bat file and select Run as administrator. Oh, what is it? Alright, the guide doesn't say anything about that. So, basically, we need to install Python in our system. Okay, let's head over to python.org and now we smash that download button. Okay, so actually right now my internet is very slow, so just a fast forward should help. Now heading over to the downloads folder where we had just downloaded the Python setup. Run the Python setup and make sure to check this box named Add Python to Path. Yee, that's done. Close the setup and now I hope the gib macOS file should run perfectly fine now. Let's go back to the guide. Close that unnecessary tab. Alright, it is saying that now we need to run the gib macOS.bat as administrator. Okay, let's do that first. Right-click on it as select Run as Administrator. That started downloading something. Let's wait and watch. There you go. Before we choose something from this list, we need to toggle the recovery mode to on. See, here it says that the recovery mode is currently set to off. We need to turn that on as we're making a recovery installer. People who are making a full-size installer, they will not turn this on, but making a full-size installer requires access to a real Mac or another Hackintosh. But as you see that I'm poor. So, we're gonna make the installer on Windows itself. So, press R and hit enter to toggle the recovery mode. Done. Here it is. It says that the recovery only is set to on. Fine. Now we need to select which version of macOS we wanna install. So, I'll choose the latest version of macOS Catalina available, that is, macOS Catalina, version 10.15.5. For you, you need to select the latest version available. For example, they added macOS Catalina version 10.15.6 on July 15, 2020. So, people making the installer after July 15, 2020, they're gonna select that. Download the latest one. Now if after 1 year, you have the option of macOS Big Sur, download that. Enough talks. Now, see macOS Catalina version 10.15.5 is numbered as 1. So, enter 1 and hit enter. Now, it will download the recovery of macOS Catalina version 10.15.5. It will take some time, so just wait. I'm fast forwarding the video. Okay, it's downloaded. It says, failed none. That means it successfully downloaded the file. Now we can close this window. So, where is our file downloaded? It will be under this folder named macOS Downloads. Double-click, 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 and here it is. Okay, back to our guide. All these are done, 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 and done. Okay, now that we have downloaded the file, we need to make the USB. Read the guide. What does it say? It is written clearly that now we need to run the make install.bat as administrator. So, go back to the folder and a right-click and then run as administrator. Make sure that you insert your USB drive before proceeding. Now, run the file as administrator. It started downloading something again. Hold your patience as it will take just a few seconds. Done. Now according to what the guide says, we basically need to select our USB drive from this list. See, here is my USB drive and it is numbered as 2. So, we need to enter 2 but don't hit enter yet. If you read the guide properly, we also need to type O as we are using OpenCore and not Clover. There is an option and it says, use OpenCore instead of Clover. So, yes, we are using OpenCore, so I need to type 2, which is my USB number, followed by O, and hit enter. All data will be lost and deleted? I'm okay with that. Type Y and hit enter. Now it is asking the location where we downloaded the macOS recovery package. So, go to macOS Downloads and here is the recovery package. Select it and click on Home. Now click on Copy Path and paste it there and hit enter. Now it will start creating the USB. It will take a few minutes. All done. Your USB has been created and now we can close this window. Back to our guide, these are already done, 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 done. Now with all this done, click on setting up the EFI. So, let's click here and another page opens. Read these yourself, I'm not gonna read it for you. I'm just showing you the main points of how to do actually. Now it says remove from drivers. So, the files which are listed here, you have to remove them from drivers. So, wondering where is our drivers folder? No worries. Simply open up your USB drive. It will be named as boot. Go to EFI. OC. And here you'll find the drivers folder. Double click and here are all the drivers which are present. Now you need to remove some which are listed here. Open USB.DXE. USB mouse DXE. NVM Express XHCI. HI database. Open Canopy. PS2 mouse and PS2 keyboard. Now we need to delete these. Okay, with that done. It now says to remove everything from tools. So, for me it says to remove everything from tools. If in your guide, it says to delete everything but keep this particular file, then keep that. Follow your guide. The guide will keep on changing, so follow it accordingly. I'll open the tools folder. Here it is. And now select everything and delete. So, here is a picture of a cleaned up EFI. And here is a populated EFI. Okay, now read this reminder. It says that .aml files go to the ACPI folder, .kext files goes to the kexts folder and .efi files go to the drivers folder. Okay, with all this done, now we need to head over to gathering required files. Now this is the most important section and basically you need to download those files which you require. So, it will depend on your system, which files you need. Everything is written clearly in the guide. So, read it carefully. Now in the firmware drivers section, let's see what we need. APFS driver loader.efi. So, it's written that as of OpenCore 0.5.8, this driver is already built in. So, we don't need to download this as it is already present. Next up, we have HFS+.efi. Here is the reason written why we need this. Needed for seeing HFS volumes in macOS. So, do we need this? Yes, we need it. Click on it and download the driver. Next we have OpenRuntime.efi. Read the reason written below why we need this. Now we need to download it. Oh, it takes us to the OpenCore page. We already downloaded this file, right? So, we're at the OpenRuntime.efi driver. Well, first of all let's go to the Downloads folder. And now let's extract this OpenCore debug package. Now open it. Under EFI. OC drivers. Here is it. Here is the OpenRuntime.efi file. So, we just need to copy and paste it in the drivers folder of our USB drive. So, on the right side, here is our USB drives window, and inside the drivers folder, we'll copy and paste the OpenRuntime.efi file. Oh, here it's already present. No problem, we'll just replace the file. After this, remember, we also downloaded the HFS+.efi file. So, we'll paste even that inside the drivers folder. Okay, that's done. Next up there are some more drivers, but as it says, it's for legacy users, but we're not on legacy, so we don't need them. Now coming to kexts, if you don't know what are kexts, you can read a kext is a kernel extension, you can think as a driver for macOS. So, it's written that these will go inside the kexts folder. Now there is also a note for Windows and Linux users. Read this. It says that in Windows and Linux, kexts looks like normal folders. I'll explain this to you later. Now scrolling down, it states the must-haves kexts. It means these two kexts which are listed, everyone needs to download them. Okay, let's go ahead and download the first one. Virtual SMC. Let's download the release package. Alright. Next we have Lilu. Download the release package and there you go. Now we need to move these kexts which are downloaded into the kexts folder of our USB drive. Let's go to the downloads folder and extract the zip files of Virtual SMC and Lilu. Now inside Virtual SMC we find a lot other kexts. Let's check the guide, which one we need out of these. Here it is. Virtual SMC plugins. SMC processor kext. Used for monitoring CPU temperature. Doesn't work on AMD systems. So, we are on Ryzen and hence we don't need these. Intel users can use this. SMC Super I/O. Doesn't work on AMD. So, I don't need. SMC light sensor. Used for ambient light sensor on laptops, desktops can ignore. Don't use if you don't have a light sensor. So, my laptop doesn't have a light sensor, hence I don't need this. If your laptop has, you may need this. SMC battery manager kext. Used for monitoring battery readouts on laptops, desktops can ignore. So, do I need this? Yes, I'm using a laptop, so I need this. If you're using desktop, you don't need. So, use what is needed by your system. Don't copy me. Alright, for me I need the virtual SMC kext first and then I need the SMC battery manager kext. Let's copy them into the kexts folder. After this, we also need the Lilo kext. So, let's extract the Lilo package which we downloaded. Move the lilo.kext file into the kexts folder. With all these done, let's scroll over. Now we have graphics kext. Whatever green. All GPUs benefit from this kext. Okay. So, we need this also. Okay, now let's extract it. And move this whatever green.kext file into our kexts folder. Next we have Apple ALC for audio. Now Apple ALC doesn't have mic support. But I have laptop with an inbuilt mic. So, I'll not use this. If you don't have a mic, you can use this. But since I'm not gonna use this one. Next up we have the Ethernet kexts. Now out of all these Ethernet kexts, you have to select only one out of them. So, how do you understand which one you need? Just go to the Speccy website and download it and install it in your system. Open it up and here you'll find a bunch of information about your PC. We need to look for the Ethernet adapter which you have. Click on Network and here you'll find what type of Ethernet you have. Since my laptop doesn't have an Ethernet port, so it will not show in my system, but if your desktop or laptop has one, you'll find it here. For example, since I'm connected to the internet using Wi-Fi, so my Wi-Fi adapter will be shown here. Here it is. Intel Dual Band Wireless AC8265. So, after determining what type of Ethernet adapter you have, you need to choose any one kext out of these. For example, Intel MOSI is required for Intel NIC Ethernet adapters which are based off i211. Small tree is required if you have this Ethernet adapter. For Atheros and Killer, you need this. This is for Realtek. So, choose accordingly. Everything is mentioned clearly in the guide. Now as I said, I don't have an Ethernet port, so I don't need any of these Ethernet kexts. Next up, we have USB kexts. USB inject all. Read these, I'm not gonna read it for you. Clearly written that it doesn't work on AMD systems, so we're on Ryzen and hence I don't need this. If you have Intel CPU, then you may need this. Again note, it's written that if you're running Skylake or newer, you don't need this. After this, we have XHCI unsupported. Again this doesn't work on AMD systems. Now coming to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth kexts. Generally Wi-Fi and Bluetooth doesn't work out of the box. Now first of all determine what Wi-Fi adapter you have. You may use Speccy for determining your Wi-Fi adapter. As I have shown earlier, I have Intel Dual Band Wireless AC8265 adapter. So, written that the first one doesn't work on Intel, Killer, and Realtek adapters. So, I don't need this. Now, the second kext also doesn't work. Both these kexts will only work if you have a Broadcom adapter. So, I don't need any of these. Now coming to AMD CPU specific kexts. Null CPU power management. It says they have a much better solution, so we don't need this also. The second one is not recommended for Ryzen processors. Coming to the third, mic plus audio support for Ryzen. So, yes. Do you remember that previously I didn't use the Apple ALC kext for audio because it had no mic support? I'm gonna use this one as it has mic support. Note that it is written not to mix this kext with Apple. So if you are using Apple ALC, you should not add this. Since I'm not using Apple ALC, I'll use this one for audio. Also written that audio quality is worse than Apple ALC on Zen CPU. Since Ryzen comes under Zen series, so audio will be worse than Apple ALC, but we are getting mic support which we are not getting on Apple ALC. Let's download it now. After that, extract the package and add the Voodoo HDA kext into the kexts folder. Okay, done with that. Now coming to extras. Apple MCE Reporter Disabler. Useful starting with macOS Catalina to disable the Apple MCE Reporter kext which causes kernel panics on AMD CPUs. We're on Ryzen, so do we need this? Yes, we need this. Next we have CPU TSC sync. Needed for syncing TSC on some of Intel's HEDT and server motherboards. Again, since I'm on AMD system, so I don't need this. After this we have NVMe fix. So, do we need this? Yes, we need this. Download it. Now coming to laptop specifics. We have Voodoo PS2. Required for systems with PS2 keyboards and trackpads. Since my keyboard is PS2, I need this kext. If you want to know your keyboard or trackpad is PS2 or not, use Device Manager to find it out. I'll download this one also. After that, we have Voodoo I2C used for fixing I2C devices. I have an I2C trackpad but it doesn't work on macOS even if I load this kext, so I won't use this. It will be better to use a USB mouse instead of your trackpad. After we install macOS, then you can install this kext and check out if your trackpad works or not. Next up, we have No Touch ID kext. Recommended for SM BIOS that include a Touch ID sensor to fix auth issues. We don't know what is SM BIOS, right? That part will come later in this video. For now, simply download it. Okay, now that we have downloaded all the kexts we needed, we have to copy them to the kexts folder. Let's extract all of these one by one and copy them to the kexts folder. Apple MCE Reporter Disabler. Extract. And copy this one right there. After this, what left? No Touch ID. Extract. And copy. NVMe fix. Extract. Copy. All done, I guess? Is anything left? Oh no, we forgot about the Voodoo PS2. Extract it. And copy right there into the texts folder. Anything left? Okay, I guess we moved all the texts into the texts folder, right? Now coming to SSDTs. We'll explain about SSDTs later. Now just ignore that SSDT section. Okay, with all this done, let's head over to Getting Started with ACPI. Let's maximize this window. And click on Getting Started with ACPI. Now here there are some introductory texts related to ACPI. Now, I'm assuming everything is going over your head, right? No worries. Simply see in the left menu bar, there should be an option called SSDT's Easy Way. Just click on it. So, here it says that we'll be using a super simple tool made by Corp Newt called SSDT Time. I'll click on it and download the SSDT Time tool. Click on Code and select Download as zip. Save it. OK, done. Now open up the folder where we downloaded the SSDT Time zip package. Now extract the zip file. Open up the extracted folder. Here you'll find many files. Now as the guide says, we need to run the SSDT time.bat file as administrator. If you're on macOS, you need to run the SSDT time.command file. But we're on Windows, so I'll run the .bat file. Started downloaded something. Let's wait and watch. In the meantime, read the guide. What does it say? First of all we need to dump our DSDT. So, for that we need to input 4 and hit enter. OK, let's open up the .bat file. Now dump the DSDT by inputting 4 and hitting enter. DSDT dump successful. Return to the main menu by pressing enter. Back to our guide. Now, remember? We're going to install macOS Catalina, right? So, read the guide. It says SSDTEC is required for Catalina users. OK, so we need to input 2 and hit enter to get the SSDTEC file. Now it says to drag the DSDT or the origin folder. I don't know if this is a problem of the program or not, but it doesn't accept the DSDT. Doesn't matter how much I try, it doesn't accept the file. Even tried to copy the path and paste it manually, but no hope. The fix was simple. Maybe this doesn't work on my system only. If it works in your system, then all good. But for those who face this same issue, then follow my steps to get the SSDTEC file. But before we try to get the SSDTEC file, let's copy the dsdt.aml file to our ACPI folder of our USB drive. If you already obtained the SSDTEC.aml file as well as the dsdt.aml, copy and paste both these into the ACPI folder. Since I didn't get the SSDTEC.aml file, for now let me just copy the dsdt.aml file. Remember that .aml files needs to be pasted only. Don't copy .dsl files. Now for those who didn't get the SSDTEC.aml file, follow my steps. Simply go back to our guide, scroll up. And here you'll find Laptop EC Fix. Click on it and a web page opens. Scroll down. Now what we will do is that we are gonna grab a pre-built SSDT from this guide. Click on Pre-built. Another web page will open and here you'll find pre-built SSDTs both for desktops as well as laptops. I'm using a laptop, so I need a laptop SSDT. Here there are 2 SSDTs in laptop category. We need only one out of these. So, the first one is for Skylake and newer and the second one is for Broadwell laptops and older. I have a Ryzen laptop and hence we need the first one. Skylake or newer. Click on it and download the SSDTEC.aml file. Done? Got the SSDTEC.aml file? Now let's copy this into our ACPI folder. OK, now we have both the dsdt.aml as well as the ssdtec.aml files into our ACPI folder. So, with all these done, we have completed the getting started with ACPI part. Now what's left? OK. So, now we need to make our config.plist file. Click on config.plist setup from the menu on the left side and here we have another web page with this long guide. Now basically what we have to do is that we have to create a config.plist file. So, now according to the guide, we first need to grab the sample.plist file. So, where is the sample.plist file? Do you remember that we downloaded the OpenCore debug package? Simply go to the Downloads folder and open up the OpenCore debug package folder. Select Docs and here you will find the sample.plist file. Now as the guide says, we first copy this sample.plist file and paste it in our OC folder. Go to your USB drive, EFI, OC, and paste it here. After pasting it, we need to rename the file as config.plist. There you go, we now have a config.plist file. Back to our guide, let's scroll down as we have successfully obtained a config.plist file now. Now we need to edit the config.plist file and add the SSDTs, drivers, and kexts to the config.plist file also. So, to edit the config.plist file, we need a simple program called propertree. Download propertree. Select code and download as zip. We also need GenSM-BIOS for generating our SM-BIOS data. Select code and download as zip. Next up, we need to open propertree and edit our config.plist file. So, how do we open propertree? If you read the guide carefully, for Windows users, we need to run propertree.bat file. For macOS users, you have to run propertree.command file. Since I'm on Windows, I'll run the propertree.bat file. Let's go to the Downloads folder. OK, here I see that I had downloaded propertree previously. We have an extra file. So, I'll delete that. Now extract propertree master.zip file. Open up the extracted folder. Run propertree.bat file. Now we just minimize this command prompt window for getting some room. OK, here we have propertree running. Select File and click on Open. Navigate to your USB drive, EFI, OC. And now select the config.plist file and open it up. Back to our guide. OK, now as I have shown you that we have opened the config.plist file in propertree. Now we need to take a clean OC snapshot. So, how do you do that? Back to propertree, we just click on the File tab and then here you have an option called OC Clean Snapshot. Now you need to take a snapshot of your OC folder. Select your USB drive, EFI. And now select this OC folder and click on Select Folder. OK, now proper tree will automatically load all the SSDTs, DSDTs, drivers, kexts into the config.plist file. So, now I have to say something important. As I have shown you how to take a OC clean snapshot. We only use this OC clean snapshot in the first time. From now onwards, suppose you load a SSDT or a driver or a kext after this, we also have to open our config.plist file and take a OC snapshot. Not OC clean snapshot. OC clean snapshot is only used for the first time. OK, done now? Now scrolling down, it says we need to select our platform. We are using Ryzen. So, Ryzen comes under Zen series, so I'll select that. If you don't know which series processor you are using, just Google it up. OK, so I'll select Zen. Now read these info. I'm not gonna read it. Under requirements, we already have proper tree. Gen SM BIOS. Config.plist. Now AMD kernel patches. We don't have this, so let's download it. Code. Download as zip. Done. Back to our guide. Scroll down, scroll down. OK, so we already have the SSDTEC.aml file. So, that's done. Scroll down. Read all these. I'm just showing you the way. Scroll down. Scroll down. OK, so now. Quirks. We need to make some changes out here. Avoid runtime defrag. We need to set this to yes. So, where is it? Under booter, we have quirks. Avoid runtime defrag. So, it's already set to true. Alright. Next up, we have enable write protector and we need to set as false. Double click and select false. Rebuild Apple memory map to yes. System virtual map to yes. Already set to true. Sync runtime permissions to true. Scrolling down. Under device properties, under add section. Read the guide carefully. Since the guide will change over time, your guide may be different from mine. Do what your guide says. Here according to my guide, I need to delete this PCI root from the add section because we are using Voodoo HDA. If you're using Apple ALC, you should not remove this. So, read the guide carefully and do what it says. Done. Scroll down. Scroll down. We don't have to do anything out here. Now here. Under patches, we have to do something. Please read it what is written. Now what we need to do is that we have to open the kernel patches which we downloaded earlier. Your guide may be different. This step is only for AMD I guess. Follow your guide. So, open your downloads folder and extract the AMD kernel patches package which we downloaded earlier. Now as you see Ryzen and Threadripper have to select 17H. So, select that. And here you'll find a patches.plist file. So, how do you open this file? Again, we need proper tree to open this file. Go to the proper tree folder and open the proper tree.bat file. Click File and select Open. Now navigate to the patches.plist file and open it. OK, so now we need to delete the patches section under kernel from the config.plist file. To get some room, I'm minimizing the add, delete, and emulate section. Now, as the guide says, we need to delete this patches section. Done. Next we need to copy the patches section under kernel from the patches.plist file. And now just paste it under kernel in the config.plist file. Done. Easy. Next up, we have quirks. Now I'm fast forwarding the video. Follow your guide. You need to set each of these as specified in the guide. Okay, now we come here. So, here you need to add some codes to the boot ARGS. Read it. -V enables verbose mode. This is already present, so leave it like that. Read the description why we need to enable it. Next we have this debug 0x100. Disables macOS watchdog, which helps prevent a reboot on a kernel panic. That way we can glean some info. So, we need this one also. Simply copy it and in the boot ARGS section, give a space and paste this code. Next up, keep SMYS. This one is already present and it says it's a companion setting of the previous code, so leave it like that. Next we have ACPI. Read the description of this code in the guide. It's clearly written that we don't need this if above 4G decoding is enabled. I don't have above 4G decoding option in my BIOS setting, so I need this. Next we have ALSID. This is needed for people who are using Apple ALC Kext for audio. But I'm using Voodoo HDA. So, I don't need it. Now instead of this number 1, you need to replace it according to your audio codec. You'll find your audio codec in your motherboard's web page. I don't need this, so I'll ignore it. Next up, we have GPU-specific commands. Read the descriptions. It states that the first one is for Navi GPUs and the second one is for NVIDIA GPUs. I'm using Vega 8, so I don't need any of them. By the way, Vega 8 is incompatible with macOS, and although I will be able to use macOS, I will not get hardware acceleration in it. If you have a compatible GPU, then it's good. Now, next up, we need to change the language of OpenCore bootloader. By default, the language will be set to Russian. We need to set this to English. So, here in this previous language KBD section, select the type to string and the value to NUS0. Next, under the delete section, we need to set these according to your guide. Now coming under platform info, we need to enter our SM BIOS data here. So, first extract the Gen SM BIOS tool which we downloaded earlier. And run it. Now you need to generate your SM BIOS data. Input 3 and hit enter. Started downloading something. Now choose the SM BIOS product type depending on your GPU. See the guide. Clearly mentioned everything. Since I have Ryzen 5 3500U Vega 8 graphics, I need to enter Mac Pro 6,1. Now the SM BIOS data which got generated has to be entered into the config.plist file. Type gets copied to system product name. Serial gets copied to system serial number. Board serial gets copied to MLB. SM UUID gets copied to system UUID. Done. Now read this one. We need to paste this value into ROM. Okay, so here's a reminder written. Read it. It says that we need an invalid serial number. Not a real valid serial number. We need an invalid one. So, how do you know if it's valid or invalid? Simply open up the Apple Check Coverage page and enter the serial number here. Oh my god! It shows up that this serial number is valid. So, we can't use this one. We need to generate the serial number once again using GenSM BIOS until we get an invalid serial number. So, let's repeat the same process until and unless we get an invalid serial number. After this getting an invalid SM BIOS, enter those accordingly and then let's proceed on further. Now, again we need to match these with our guide. Here all your drivers will be present. Okay, seems that now we're done. Now coming to AMD BIOS setting. So, read this. We need to disable fast boot mode. We need to disable secure boot. And then we need to disable CSM. We need to enable above 4G decoding. But do you remember that we added the ACPI command to the boot ARGS, because we don't have above 4G decoding in our BIOS? Okay, so basically by now, we have covered up everything of creating our bootable USB. First of all, you need this Intel Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Kext package. I'll leave a link to this in the description below. Next, we need to extract this. After extraction, open up the folder. Here you'll find 3 kexts in an app. Open this ILTWM kext and here under contents, you'll find an info.plist file. Now basically what we need to do is that we need to edit this info.plist file and add our Wi-Fi SSID and password to it. So, for editing this file, we again need proper tree. Open propertree.bat file. Click on File tab and select Open. Now navigate to that info.plist file. And open it. Scroll down. And here you'll find Wi-Fi config section. Here we need to add our Wi-Fi SSID and password. We can add a maximum of 4 Wi-Fi IDs. I'll enter my Wi-Fi information here. You need to enter yours. Done. Now save it by clicking on File and then Save. Close proper tree. Now we need to copy these kexts to the kexts folder of our USB drive. Here you need to paste those 3 kexts. Select. Copy. and paste. Done. Now do you remember that I said you that we need to take a OC snapshot after we add kexts or drivers? So, again open up proper tree. Navigate to your config.plist file and open it. Now take a OC snapshot. Select your USB drive, EFI, and select this OC folder. Done. Now save your config.plist file and here our problem is solved. Now after you successfully install macOS, you need to run this heliport app also and then you will find a Wi-Fi symbol in your menu bar. Good luck! The fix was easy. Open up your config.plist file with proper tree. Scroll down. Now under Booter section, you will find Quirks. Under Quirks, here you see Enable Write Unprotector is turned off, that is it is set to false. Double click on it and turn it to true. Now, save your config.plist file and the kernel panic should not show up again. For this purpose, you need the horn disk kext. Extract the package. Now after extraction, we need to paste this kext into the kexts folder of our USB drive. Simply open up your USB, EFI, OC, kexts, and copy and paste the kext here. Done. Close the window. Now we need to take an OC snapshot. So, again open up proper tree. Navigate to your config.plist file and open it. Now take a OC snapshot. Select your USB drive, EFI, and select this OC folder. Done. Now save your config.plist file and here our problem is solved.